Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And for today's vlog, we have a special guest with us. He's an independent financial advisor, investment manager, and fund manager. Please help me welcome Mr. Rickyso.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Sir Ricky. Good afternoon. Nice to see you again.
Okay.
So anyway, Sir Ricky, thank you for accepting my invitation because diba we met during our talk for
Mm,
UP Diliman. So I wanted to invite you because also my vlog is not only about real estate, although more heavily leaning towards real estate yung content ko, but I also talk about business and finance on my
mhm,
channel. So
mhm.
since you mentioned that you are an independent financial advisor, can you tell me more about that? Like what exactly do you do?
Oh well, ever since that I've been working, I am already dealing with clients, advising them as to what to do. So although initially I was a trader, so I trade accounts of the clients. No? So
Sa
Filipinos are not
Philippine Stock
sa
Exchange.
Philippines din, but I was exposed into forex and futures market. Yan yung unang-una kong trabaho, you know. And I am actually from the province, and when I moved to Manila, in the late 80s, I started venturing into the stock market because it kind of aroused my curiosity at the time. And then I moved to mutual funds. I studied financial planning. I studied also the global market starting from the US. So kasi although my initial job is already involving, international markets, the futures market is an international, uh, kumbaga, centralized market popular in advanced economies. Unfortunately, in the Philippines, it was not. We had the futures exchange established in 86, but it was shut down in 1996 by the SEC. So we kind of stepped back. And then I moved to Forex. Well, we were dealing with the four major currencies, so international market then. So somehow I feel that I have already enough exposure, with regards to all types of investment instruments because I tried it myself, especially in the US market where there are a lot of parang exotic assets. Okay. So I have to try it myself so that I would know, how it goes. It's not purely theoretical. So with that experience of mine over the past, tanda ko na, no, 35 years.
Wow, 35 years
35
already in
years,
this
yeah, because
industry.
in this industry, in looking at the markets practically on the daily basis. So I have kind of somehow built upon myself some sort of an instinct and, of course, understanding of the market, among others. And I use that expertise of mine and experience in advising clients and even companies, corporates, cooperatives in how to handle their portfolio. Yun, yun.
How did you get into this industry?
Oh well, it was an accident. I was actually recruited in the school because I was on my fourth year. Was about to graduate, and I'm actually from the province, from Pangasinan, Dagupan City to be exact, where the best bangus in the country is being raised. Okay, so ayun. And so there was this guy who came from Manila and established a local branch, and we're recruiting, account executives, which is a glamorous, title for a salesperson at the time. The intention is to look for clients. So he has a Chinese background, so definitely he was looking for a Chinese looking person who has a lot of contacts in the locality. And since I have about 21 units to go, and that was about going towards summer, so sabi ko, I might as well try it out for my first summer job because I am accustomed to working during summers if I am not studying. Okay, so I don't study summer subjects because I normally work. Try to look
Wow,
for
you're so diligent. During
Yeah, I
summer,
try
you're
to
working.
during summer I work, looking for means to have an income, and then regular yung studies ko. So so I tried it out as a summer job, and I was tasked to look for a client. At the time, nakakahiyang sabihin, but then this is the fact, no? My salary at the time was 1,200K per month. Sabi ko, pera na rin 'yon, 'di ba? But then the client that we're supposed to look for is somebody that's willing to invest 100,000 pesos. Sabi ko, that's a
At
lot of
that
money
time,
at
ang
that
laki na
time.
yan,
At
no?
malaki na yan, oo. Malaki na yan. And although marami akong kakilala, but then of course, I don't know how. So I went through the training, so somebody has to accompany me. And luckily, I was able to get a client, somebody that I don't know, because I did not approach my relatives and my friends.
So,
So I
how did you do prospecting? Since you were a fresh graduate and yung may kakayahan na mag-invest ng 100,000 would be somebody na a little bit older, 'di ba? Meron ng ipon.
Yes.
So,
Oo.
how were you
So,
able to reach that market segment?
well, for one, what I did was to look for friends, who was friends, okay, and told them that this is my job and I'm looking for somebody who can possibly invest this money. Because essentially, it's nothing different from networking. So although I was not I consider myself introvert at the time. So medyo shy type ako noon eh. So but then because of the job, and
Naging extrovert ka?
hindi, I have to do some networking, and of course relating with other people. And incidentally, one of my friend, pointed me out to one businessman. And then incidentally, when we talked to him, he was already doing it with a competitor. So he already understands the business. So medyo madali na, 'di ba? Dahil all we need to do is to swing him towards our side, okay? And luckily, we were successful with that, okay? And of course, through the help of my superiors, and but then it was it was a total stranger, but then also Chinese then, okay? And we're successful. And what made me perhaps got become enamored with the job is that, with all the things that I've learned, which I did not learn from the school, parang I got so intrigued, with charting, with the price movement, etc., with everything, with the information that you're getting. So parang very glamorous yung trabaho. Kaya lang, it was really to be on the ground. So I got stuck. I was able to close a client, and I earned, a big commission out of it kasi hindi lang 100,000 yung ininvest niya afterwards. Okay? I think it went up to as high as 800,000. So just imagine the volume already. So I earned, and I was thinking I'm not going to finish my studies anymore because I'm already earning. Eventually, that is the objective of going to school anyway, is to have work afterwards. So, but then my boss told me, you have to finish school, sabi niya. So, while I'm working in the morning, because the markets close middle in the afternoon, so I took night classes to finish my course. Okay. So, after a year, I graduated. Well, I was already working, and then suddenly the main office put up another company of the same nature, and our team was called to man that company. So that's how I got to Manila.
Wow, so you had to move to Manila because of the new sales parang office of the company.
Yes, in Makati, right in the heart of Makati.
Parang
So,
from the province, ano na, naging Makati boy.
oo, because I also got promoted. within my stint in the provincial, because of I'm really diligent with working, and I got promoted,
So
and
you were doing this while you were studying
yes,
college, while you were in college on your fourth year.
yes.
How did you manage your time? Kasi mahirap din maging full-time student here in the Philippines. Parang you have to put all your time then into studying and going to school, especially pag full load ka. How were you able to balance it?
Well, just essentially focus. When at work, you focus on what you're supposed to do. So you have to do cold calls, you have to monitor the market, you have to talk to your client, do prospecting, etc. So it's relatively easy for me because I was able to get the hang of the job, and our city is very small. So basically, you would know the people, so you would know whom to approach, something like that. So, and then of course, after the work, I have to go to school. So I think my earliest schedule at the time was about 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, ganun din. Then focus when you're already in the classroom, and then focus, and then try to study at night. So since I have about 21 units to go to finish, so I just enrolled about half of it, diba? So parang for the whole sem, I have only several subjects. So baka mga 3 or 4 subjects,
So
to
not
attend
full
to.
load. You cut back
Not
on
full
your
load,
load.
hindi kakayanin ng full load,
Oo, yun yung
So
iniisip ko. Parang hindi kaya pag full load. Wala ka ng time matulog kung magwo-work ka
yeah,
pa.
oo. So
Pero kung
I cut
limited yung
half.
load, kaya pa.
The 21 units, I finished it in 2 sems.
Ah, okay.
So natapos ako in fact, I was hired in that company April 1. So April Fool's Day, I won't remember. I got hired April 1. I got pulled into it. And then April 8 the following year, I graduated. I finished college. And then I think a week after, we moved to Makati already.
Wow,
So exacto.
that must have been so exciting for you na while you were still in college, you were already working na parang super ano na job ha, parang stock market, exciting. So ano
Yeah.
naman yung challenges mo na you were studying while working? What were your challenges, especially even after graduating and you were doing it already full time in Makati? What were your challenges when you started?
Oh, it's difficult already when I went to Makati. Iba yung challenges when I was in
Your hometown.
my hometown, doing the work, and then doing the school. And at the same time, minsan meron pang hassles in between, di ba? And of course, your social life and my love life, parang ganun, di ba? Put together. So, but then, I kind of extend my day. Parang I don't have a rest time other than just sleeping. So, sanay ako ng ganun eh. So, the rest time is just sleeping. I'm not fond of watching TVs. Okay, so I would rather be more productive in doing something or thinking about something, you know, rather than watching TV. So I'm not abreast with, the current shows at the time. And up until now, I carry it. But then when I moved to Manila, it's a different challenge altogether. Tapos na yung school mo, okay? And I was already like a team leader already, and I'm in charge of some people. And iba na, syempre, you
Malaki
have
na
a
yung
different,
quota. Malaki na yung
oh,
quota mo.
malaki na yung quota, may responsibilities ka na, you have to take care of other people. Unlike when you are on your own, you just have to take care of yourself. And the challenging part is that I was alone. And I am not familiar with the place. Talagang probinsyano ang dating, no? And I would remember sa Greenbelt, nawala pa nga ako that time when we were supposed to meet in one place. Nawala ako doon, paikot-ikot. But then, it's just a matter of time that you get to, you know, to get along.
But what did you learn from these challenges?
Oh, well, I'm ano siguro, one thing that perhaps I can say maybe to some people who would be going through the same the same situation as I was when I was starting. It's much like parang from nothing, you know, it's my outlook in life. Okay, that I am very positive. You know, I'm very optimistic about what's going to happen. So, in fact, I would remember when we were about to be promoted, you know, initially in our local office, provincial office, there were three of us na candidates. And our immediate boss is having a dilemma whom to promote, you know. And kasi pareho kami na nakamit namin yung requirements. So tatlo kaming candidate, no? And the two were ladies and I'm the only guy. So but then he has a dilemma. So what he did was to call the big boss in Metro Manila, you know, who is a top salesman, and siya yung isa sa mga idol ko. Galing magsalita. Tsaka kumikita talaga ng milyones, no? So, enamor ka talaga. And then he was the one who interviewed us. Okay? Interviewed. And I would remember, ito yung sinasabi natin we say it in our vernacular, na pag hindi ka tumingin sa pinanggalingan mo, hindi ka makakarating sa paroroonan. That's why some of the snippets in my past I do remember, because they continue to guide me, you know, how I'm going to face challenges along the way. Isa lang yung tanong niya sa akin. Sabi niya, how do you deal with problems, Ricky? So sabi ko, problems are just meant to be solved. I am used to it. That's basically my answer. Okay, sabi niya, very good. Yeah, sige.
How did the
Tapos na.
others answer?
I don't know because we
alam mo ba?
one-on-one kami. Hindi ko alam, hindi ko na tinanong. No? Hindi naman
So,
ako
isa
ganun
lang
na.
yung tanong niya sa'yo.
Isa lang yung tanong niya, yun lang. So sabi niya, maybe this guy is fit for the job to become a manager because a manager solves problems. Kaya ang tayong problema eh, di ba? Market, you know, going against you. It's because very volatile, it's very risky. You know, yung 100,000, you can lose that, all of it. That's how it was in futures and Forex. That's how I got exposed. The stock market part, okay, is that we were monitoring, that was 87. 87 was right after EDSA revolution of 86. The market was upbeat in the initial part of the time of the year. But then it crashed in October of 87 because yun yung Wall Street crash. Kita mo talagang bagsak, and that was really parang sa crisis, no? A global crisis at that time. So, but then we were watching it. We were not into it. But then it excites us because the more volatile the market is, you know, that's where opportunity lies. Okay? So that's when I went to Manila, one of my objective is that I have to learn the stock market because there was no local broker in our province. Okay, so I have to learn the stock market, sabi ko, because I know for a fact that in the future I will have a lot of money. Because when I came to Manila, I had nothing. I have only, you know, 2 duffel bags worth of clothing and nowhere to live. I have to live with my boss. You know, I crashed in his place because I have no resources. Okay, but then I believe I have the right disposition and, you know, outlook in life that, you know, that carried me along to where I am right now.
So, after that, after you learned the stock market, what happened? Like, did you switch jobs or parang this was just added to your portfolio as a new skill?
Yeah, it's just an added portfolio. In fact, I am not so excited about the stock market at the time. So I just buy because in the stock market,
It's not as volatile kasi as ano eh.
iba
As
iba eh.
Forex,
Parang,
Forex is like very volatile.
yeah, very volatile. You have to watch it, you know, by the minute, diba? And
Yeah.
futures is the same, but the futures meron siyang time. Controlled yung, because by session siya, hindi siya open. Unlike yung Forex, it's open real time and it's 24 hours. And when you are leveraged, you know, it becomes more risky because your 100,000 is not buying only 100,000. It's buying worth 2 billion pesos. So that's only 5%. If the price moves 2% against you, you're already losing 40% of your capital. You just imagine, ganun yun. So, pwede mo maubos talaga yung buong pera. So, when I learned the stock market, ganito pala to. I was buying IPOs. Hindi ako masyadong worried dahil boring eh. Hindi mauubos yung pera mo eh because of my exposure. That's why I just went along. It just so happened that I also met a good stockbroker. His name is Marlon. Di ko pa rin siya makakalimutan, but I don't know where he is right now. But then he was the one who taught me the ropes, and parang sideline na lang yung stock market.
So you
Not
also handle the stock investments of other people, or it's
at
more
that
of your
time.
own
No, it's
investment?
just my own. It's just my own. It's just my own. Because I am so naive at the time. I was a beginner.
You wanted to try it first for yourself.
Yes, I have to try it first. And then I went to mutual funds in the middle of the 90s because the exchange was
That's
closed.
even more boring than the stock market,
Kaya
so
nga,
to
mas
speak.
boring pa nga.
Kasi it's safer eh. Super safe yung mutual funds.
Yeah, oo.
Pero wala ka nang
Boring.
gagawin.
So, baliktad yung ano ko, yung learning
Yeah.
curve ko
Parang you
from the
started with
most
the
volatile
most
to the
volatile and then stock market and then mutual funds. Ako naman, like, I don't have any experience in Forex trading but I invest in
mhm,
mutual funds. I mean, in mutual
mhm,
funds and in the stock market. Kasi nga, gusto ko yung stable. Gusto ko yung
mhm, mhm.
boring, so to speak. Para di mawala yung pera ko.
Yeah, oo. But then
I,
sa akin naman kasi it's a call of
Oo.
the job eh.
Yeah,
I,
kasi
I didn't
naman,
have a
it's
choice at that time.
trabaho mo siya. Ako, wala akong patience na mag-aral sa Forex kasi I had a friend na yun yung work niya. He would like trade on Forex. Pero when he would explain to me, parang ang daming kailangan na i-study.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll just stick to real estate and I'll stick to investing in the stock market and
Mhm.
mutual funds. Pero may isang
Mm.
question ako, Sir Ricky. Like, do you
Mm.
have
Sure.
parang certain percentage sa net worth mo that you invest in different vehicles? Like, dapat ganitong percentage sa stock market, ganitong percentage mutual funds, forex, real estate, ganitong percentage cash. So, ano ba yung mo? Percentages mo?
Yes. So the percentages, that kind of concept, I learned it later na. I learned it later. In fact, there was no one who actually taught me. It was all self-learned. It was also out of my curiosity. Okay, that I went through it. So, pati nga yung pre-need, pinasok ko yan eh. Napaso din ako dyan dahil, for other, natutunan ko siya, no? And then insurance, I also bought it early on. Kaya hindi ko masyado naintindihan. Naintindihan ko na siya because now my sister is already dependent on me. So then I have to be insured. Because I grew up without necessarily having, active parents on my side. My dad left us when I was 10. I was really on my own. So then when I was taking care of my sister's studies, and that's how I realized na, the value of insurance. And then when I moved to mutual funds, that's where I was able to study, financial planning because we had a foreign principal. That's where I learned about diversification and allocation. That's what you're saying about
Yeah,
right now.
So, what's your allocation?
The allocation is not going to be something static. So the allocation is going to be dependent on each person.
Yes,
Okay.
each person.
So
Ano
do
yung,
not
ano yung sayo? Ano yung sayo?
ako aggressive ako eh.
Depende kasi yan sa stage in life din eh. Kasi when you're younger, you're more aggressive. And then, as you grow a little bit older, it can change, diba? Yung risk appetite mo can change. It really depends on the
Well,
person.
that is what is written in the book. Okay? But in reality, this is how it goes. Okay? Which is, I'm already towards the tail end or past the middle part already. And some of the things that we thought are viable, are feasible in terms of concepts as we read it in the books. We follow that because that's the best that we know. But right now, there are some things that we can challenge. Okay? Just like allocation. Yeah, when you're young, you can be aggressive. When you're old, you're supposed to be conservative.
Yeah.
That is what's written in the book. But come to think of it, when it comes to knowledge, what do you know when you're young as opposed to when you're old? You're supposed to be more learned, more matured when you're older. The problem is that some people simply matures, but they simply gets old, but they don't mature.
They don't mature.
Okay? Yan yun. So, it depends on your knowledge. Okay? If we're going to take the knowledge part, it's going to be the reverse. That you should start conservative and become aggressive. Correct? So, nagko-conflict yan. When it comes to age, yes, because of time, yeah, sometimes I joke about it. You invest in the stock market. When you're young, you don't worry about losing your money because you still have your parents to go back to just in case you don't have any more money. And that's what the joke was, no? But come to think of it, you know, when it comes to time, yes, that's true. You know, that when you're older, perhaps you'll be more conservative. But when it comes to knowledge, you're supposed to start conservative and try to become aggressive. But then again, diba, is that something that is feasible? It also depends on your circumstances. Yung ano yung circumstances sa buhay? Mag-isa ka noon. May pamilya ka ngayon. Then later on, mag-isa ka
Yeah,
ulit.
it
You know,
can change
empty nester
depending on
ka.
your circumstance. That's what
Yes,
you're saying.
that's why you need to, I call it, you need to reckon a lot of things, you know, in yourself before you can actually dictate the kind of allocation and direction your investments would go. Now, but then ako
yung question ko ngayon is ngayon sa'yo. Like
sa akin,
not other people. Ano yung
hmm,
allocation mo sa'yo ngayon?
eh ako siguro mga nasa,
Like
sabihin natin,
ilang
8.
percent in cash sa net worth mo?
Ang cash ko ngayon siguro baka mga 10% lang.
Around
Okay,
10%
and
cash.
10%, and I have
Yung paper assets, stock, mutual
for assets,
funds, equity,
nasa 90.
Talaga?
Mhm.
So 1090. What about real estate?
Real estate, I don't consider it my investment, because I don't intend to sell it, you know.
But it's
So
still
it's
part
just a
of
small
your
portion, but
it's
yeah.
still part of your
But
net worth.
eventually, if I have the luxury of having all the assets, this is something that you don't want to hear. I will just limit my real estate to 20% holdings. Okay, because it's something that I am not familiar with, unlike you. I'm sure you're willing to put all your money in real estate. Now,
Not
I
naman all.
have very little cash right now because the market is cheap. Okay, it's cheap. Plus, what I ensure, you know, to me is that the income would be there. Okay, so kahit mababa yung cash, okay, the income would be there. You know, aggressive ako eh. Why did I chose that? Because when I learned financial planning, you know, early on, 20 or so years ago, and I created my financial plan even before the onset of financial planning courses in the Philippines. You know, I created my financial plan because I want to teach financial planning as well, which was I'm doing right now. And I have a 20 years worth of experience on that, doing it, okay, not just teaching it, okay. So when I was doing my own financial plan, you know, doing my own sal-in, etc., my budget, you know, and it was easy for me because I am an accounting graduate, by the way. But I never used accounting, you know, I never took the board. Okay. But then I realized something that with my number that I have in mind, with what I am doing at the time, it's not going to bring me to where I would like to go. So it's as simple as that. It's as simple as, you know, I am not that aggressive before. So if I will continue to be in that mode, I will not reach my goal. So then it made me realize that I have to be aggressive. Okay, now, when I talk to people, so that I'll be able to reach my goal. When I talk to people, this is what I also realize. It's very easy to talk to people who are aggressive rather than conservative. You know why? Okay? Because sa conservative, very limited yung world nila, yung ability nila to flex. As opposed to a conservative, aggressive ako, I can be conservative right away. Correct? So, mas flexible ako ngayon. So, flexibility-wise, I can say I'm aggressive, but then when things get worse, lagay ko lahat kaagad sa cash yan. Because I understand that I know how to take advantage of opportunities because I'm used to it. Pero pag conservative ka, ito lang ang mundo mo. Sorry ha, pero alam ko
It's harder. It's
it's
harder to be
harder kasi kung
flexible.
nasanay ka lang sa bangko, di ba? May stock market, takot na takot ka na. Mutual funds, medyo apprehensive ka kasi wala kang experience eh. Tapos marinig mo yung Forex, parang maganda. Uy, okay, crypto at one point, crypto okay, di ba? Tapos may guarantee pa, mas malamang nai-scam yung conservative. Kasi lack of knowledge, hindi ba?
So you have
So,
to educate yourself first, invest your time before investing your money.
yeah. In fact, today it's easier to do that unlike during our time. Because you
Yeah.
have a
Grabe na
lot
yung
of
resources
oh,
ngayon.
yeah, resources ngayon sobra-sobra na nga eh, magsawa ka. Dati wala kaming resources. Walang internet, walang power books, walang fully book. National bookstore lang ang libro. So that's why the book that we are able to get hold on to, puro mga Xerox copies. And your best source of information would be the older person
Yung
that yung mga
mentors
mentors
mo.
mo. Oo.
Ngayon,
Wala ring seminars
grabe
noon.
na ngayon. Grabe na ngayon,
Oo.
'di ba? Like, you can reach
Yeah.
almost any mentor na gusto mo. Yung mga
Exactly.
seminars, online trainings,
May
ang
mga libre pa eh, di ba?
dami-dami. Dami pang libre. But you know,
Yeah.
going back to your allocation, it's so interesting na it really depends what your industry is in, no? Kasi parang yung sa amin naman, kabaliktaran, kasi you mentioned na 90% nilalagay mo yung 90% of your net worth is in paper assets.
Yeah.
So for us,
Mostly
it's
equities.
mostly equity. So for us naman, it's more of 20% cash, 20% paper assets, and then 60% real estate. But we actually want to increase sa paper assets din. We want to increase it. Kasi before we had a business and we were so aggressive, we had very little cash. Parang less than 10%. Parang siguro 3 to 5% lang. Parang inubos talaga namin yung pera namin sa pag-invest sa business namin. We had like a computer store before and a coffee shop. And then came the pandemic and we had to close it down. And then we focused full-time sa real estate. So after that, we set up an emergency fund. We increased our insurance coverage. And then we allocated more cash na. 20% na sa namin. Sa net worth namin. Parang nilakihan namin yung cash. Kasi parang from conservative, naging a little bit, from aggressive, naging a little bit conservative kami. Parang more balanced na siya compared to before na invest lang ng invest. Kasi okay sana if okay lagi yung market, but you don't know what will happen. Like what happened with the pandemic. No one knew that something like that would happen.
Yeah. With what you just narrated, so the element there is your experience. So your experience will also be, a guide as to how you're going to really, invest. Okay. Now, but then with what I am doing, it's not exactly the way I will advise other people. No way. Because I am, in a different plane. But then with what I know, I have to guide the person and then make them decide as to these are the pros and cons. Okay. So because ganito lang yung take ko, it's very simple. Okay. And it's also coming from experience. Bakit ka matatakot mag-invest sa equities? For one, the only thing that's pulling you back is that you don't know. Okay? Now, it's much like you are very comfortable with real estate. So am I. I think I will be comfortable with real estate. The only thing that made me perhaps not venture into it is because I feel that it requires a lot of money and it takes time. So medyo impatient ako because of my exposure also. But then now, meron pala akong nakitang mga ways on how you can actually, leverage something
Yeah,
like
there's
that. And
leverage. You don't
yeah,
have to like
to
big
pay the
cash
whole
out.
thing. Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't have to
So
pay the whole thing.
yeah,
So
natutunan ko na yan. Pero para sa akin, too late. So ibang ano. Kasi sa real estate,
Yeah.
marami ding ano yan, maraming options yan. Pero sa totoo lang, sabi niya, magandang real estate, sinasabi natin sa matatanda, correct? Because the land will not fade away, it will not be it will not lose value, correct? So it's always going up. But somehow that notion is not exactly correct, di ba? Pwede rin bumaba
Yeah.
din yung price ng lupa eh. That's what we saw in the real estate crisis in the 90s.
Yeah.
Tapos ngayon uso na yung ano ba 'to? Uso na yung what's this? Yung lumulubog yung lupa, di ba?
I think it depends
Nagkakaroon
on the
ng
project. Like you have to
yeah,
check
yeah,
also
yeah.
who the
Oo.
developer is.
Yes, oo. Pero ganun din, I'm also banging parang uh, relying on the fact that it has intrinsic value. So para sa akin naman, my experience is this. When I buy a stock, of course, pinag-aralan mo kung ano, hindi yan mauubos in value. So much more mutual funds. Diba? The worst that can happen in mutual funds that you will lose 40%. That's the max that I saw. With stocks,
What's
yes,
the max? 40.
40 to 50%.
40 to 50.
From the high to the lowest.
Yeah.
Yan yung max mo.
But
Okay?
what's the usual na average appreciation of mutual funds like per annum?
Oh, well, it's supposed to be better than inflation always if you're going to equities.
So
Kasi
what's the
I'm
range? Because
I'm
inflation is
talking
like
about
4 to 6% yung inflation,
yeah,
di ba?
it can actually right now medyo nasa single digit siya pero nasa higher single digit depending on where you started. Because at one point that is double digit. You know,
Yeah.
from the 90s to about 2010, 2012 thereabouts, double digit yan. But then after 2012, 2013 onwards, that is being pulled down. But I believe over the next 10 years, more so if we have
Up na naman yung
magka-up na
trend.
naman yan, more so if we have the right president manning the country. Okay? So pwedeng mag-double digit yan. So, but then over time that will smoothen out, you know, based on record. Double digit talaga dapat ang business, ang stock market. You know why? The reason is very simple. Businesses borrow money and they borrow money on a single digit cost, di ba? Interest rate. Ngayon mga nasa 4-6%. And when they put it into business, they will try to maximize it as much as they can. Don't you think they will be happy with 8% or 10%? No. Big businesses would have to target 20-30% returns. Di ba? ROE, return on equity. So what will that translate to in terms of stock possibility, price appreciation? Malaki. Yung lang ang kalaban mo lang is time and then the volatility. So all told, this is now my bottom line conclusion sa stocks. You can only lose 1 peso of your money. Worst case scenario, I already experienced it. Hindi umabot ng 1 peso hanggang 95 centavos lang. Pero pag umakyat siya, you know, when it goes up, I've already experienced, you know, holding on to stock that I sold 5 times, 7 times of its original value in less than 10 years.
Yeah,
So,
I was able to try that din. Like parang
yeah,
50-60% yung increase.
na-experience mo yun.
Some stocks.
Diba?
No?
Hindi, multiples ha. Sabihin yung piso mo, nabenta mo ng, I was able to buy 50 centavos, nabenta ko ng 350. So that's 7 times in a span of 5 years. So pag na-experience mo yun, di ba parang, you know, that strengthens your confidence in it. Eh. And when does that happen? It happens in the worst of times. It doesn't happen in the best of times. Opportunity happens in the worst of times. So, pero ang natural tendency ng tao is that in the worst of times, natatakot. They try to hold on to their cash, which is very natural. That's human nature.
But if you're an investor, you're saying the
If
worst
you're an
of
investor,
times
iba dapat ang thinking
iba
mo.
dapat yung. Like, for example, when there is a crash sa real estate market, that's when you should buy.
Yeah. Correct. Di ba? And
Because properties become really cheap.
yeah, nowhere to go but up. Something like that. Di ba? Ang kalaban mo na lang oras. Something like that. So, if you understand it, but more so if you experience it and you have the resources, those 3 elements will pave the way for, you know, wealthier you know, in the future. And that's the reason why we say na, yeah, yung mayaman lalong yung mayaman, mahirap lalong mahihirap. It's because of basically that thing. Yung mahirap talagang maging mahirap kasi wala kang resources. Uutang ka, malaki. Parang wala kang time. So you're just, trying to make both ends meet. So, survival mode ka. Ano pakialam mo sa opportunity kung umakyat o bumagsak yung stock market? Wala eh.
Yeah.
Diba?
Yung
But then,
creativity mo lumalabas siya pag you have enough.
yeah,
Like your
okay.
basic needs are met. That's when you can really think and seize opportunity.
Yes. But then, para sa akin, kahit bigyan mo ng maraming pera yung mahirap, hindi pa rin nila makikita yun. Why? Because one, they don't have the
Different
knowledge.
mindset.
They don't have the knowledge, diba? Knowledge is very, very important. Yeah, you have the money. That's why you hear people hitting the lotto and then losing their money in 4 to 5 years' time. I have a lot of accounts like that, anecdotes. Because they have the money, but they don't have the knowledge. And they don't have vision. That's the most important thing. Hindi ba? So ako, when I started, sabi ko, I want to learn the stock market because my vision is, I am not there, hindi yung objective ko para kumita ako ng pera. No. I started with a vision. Because I know in the future I have a lot of money and I should know how to handle my money. And no joke, that was what was going on to my mind at the time when I sat put in Metro Manila. Okay. So vision, is what will is the
So
start.
that's your advice na for those who want to invest. Start
Yes,
investing in the
especially
stock
those who
market.
who may not have anything. Yes.
So vision.
Vision. 'Di ba? So with where you are, because ako galing ako sa hirap eh. I came to Manila with 2 duffel bags. I was crashing with my boss, then next to my friend, and another to my friend kasi syempre nahihiya ka pag di ba? Until I was able to, you
Afford
know,
your own place.
yeah, no, I was able to find my mom, in
Oh, okay.
Manila,
Oh,
and
okay.
nagkita kami, no? And then yun nga, I was
Parang
able
pang
to afford my
MMK
place.
talaga yung story mo, Sir
Yes,
Ricky.
sa totoo lang, oo.
Like
So,
your
pero
dad wasn't
andun pa rin,
there, yung
oo,
mom
nandun pa rin.
mo, nakita mo.
Yeah, but then wala pa rin, we're still sleeping I was sleeping on the floor with just, a mat. That's how we started, and at the end of the Binondo, yun yung Tondo, yun yung unang-unang binabaha kapag umulan ng malakas. So that's where I started, but I had the vision of myself. That sabi ko, hindi ako pwedeng dapat nandito lang palagi. Paano ko aasenso?
So
Kapag
you
tinanong mo yung
knew.
sarili mo ng ganoon, di ba, paano ka aasenso, what you're supposed to do, that will be the start. Because then you don't, you don't take your time for granted. You don't take the opportunities that would come along your way for granted. You take it seriously. Correct?
Yeah.
So,
So
yun,
vision.
vision.
Tapos what's your last other advice, yung last advice niyo din sa mga tao na gustong umasen, so especially those who are living in challenged areas, who don't really have the extra funds to invest. Like, since you can relate to them and you are someone they can relate to, what's your yung isang advice niyo din sa mga gustong umasen, so who doesn't really have the funds na to invest?
Yeah. So, essentially, I'm very passionate about that topic because, it's really relatable and I went through that. And I can empathize, with the person who is really, don't have much. Okay. But what is important is this. You have the ability to make money, which means you have work. Mahirap pag tamad ka talaga. Mahirap yumaman pag tamad ka. Aasa ka lang sa loto. Aasa ka lang sa magulang mo, sa kapatid mo. You have to have an income. And with that income, you try to live, within it and try to make savings. Alam mo, normal naman ito eh. Mag-save ka muna. And try to look for other means on how you can actually augment that income. You only work 8 hours a day. Say, transportation time would take you about another 2 hours or 3 hours. That's 11. You sleep for how long? 8? Ang haba na nun. 6 pwede na. Then, plus 6, that's already 17. 24 hours tayo. So you still have 7 hours. What do you do with that 7 hours? That is your resource called time. And as Americans would say, time is gold. What do you do with it? So you take it as a resource, your time and your money and yourself. So how do you enrich yourself? How do you augment yourself to try to study? Diba? How would you augment your uh, your resources, your income? You have to augment it. You have to be good. You have to be creative. You know, yung time hindi na ma-flex yan. The only time that you can flex time is that when you can delegate tasks. That's why I don't believe in leaving out of your working area. I work in Makati. Although I started living in Binyan, in Laguna, then Quezon City, diba, then Pasig with my friend, then in Tondo, nakita ko yung ano. So when I have the capacity, the ability to take my own place, I stayed in Makati. Because walking distance, pwede kong iuwi yung bahay because time is of essence. So basically, being diligent. Ngayon, when you don't know what to do, it's very easy. All you have to do is to ask someone. Hindi ba? Ngayon, you can already ask a friend what you can do. Diba? And that's where I can actually offer myself because I have now the blog. I have also articles there, and I opening myself up to, free sessions that, somebody who might be in need, diba, na tulungan natin, diba?
So, where can they reach you? Like, for those gusto magpaturo sa'yo, magpa-mentor sa'yo, how to invest, how to start, where can they reach you?
They can reach me through my Fast Exchange. Okay, there's a comment section there, or my email address at rickyso@thefastexchange.com. All you have to do is to ask.
Okay.
Wag
Thank
lang
you
pera.
so much. Wag lang pera. Pwede advice, pwede oras, wag
Yes,
lang pera.
yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Sir Ricky. I really learned a lot from you in also an industry that I'm not really as familiar with compared to real estate. So I'm sure more people can learn from you as well through your blog posts and the content that you put out.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Thank you too.
yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for being with us today on this episode. And we hope that you, like me, learned a lot as well from our guest for today. And I will see you in our next video.